We just replicated this study with Fortune 500 companies back in October of last year. So we looked at which of these companies were implementing the strategies that we advise in the book around centering an employee voice, making sure that you're giving them benefits that matter most to them, and some of the other principles. A couple things that we saw when we looked at private companies, the ones that were implementing these practices had a higher share price. They also had a lower retention rate. And when you talk about the cost of turnover, which I would argue a lot of employers don't really know the real cost, the idea that you can retain people for 6 months longer, a year longer, 2 years, especially in some of these high turnover entry level roles, we're talking about savings of millions of dollars that these companies were seeing. I tell a story of one company in the book around centering worker voice. It's called CHI Doors. What they went in and did with their workforce, this was a manufacturing plant. They create doors. They went in, and the new management said, okay, we bought the company. We'd love to, over the next 4 or 5 years, turn this company around, make a profit. We'd love all of your ideas. And they went to some of the drivers. And I remember I talked to one of the drivers and he goes, I'd given my ideas before. They didn't listen. I decided to give, this new management the benefit of the doubt. And basically what he was saying was, the route that you've been giving me on the GPS is wrong. And not only did they check his route, but they checked all of the routes. And what they found out was the software was actually, there was a glitch. The routes were wrong. There were new streets in place, and this was kind of an old model. And what they were able to do was not only save the money, right? Save the frustration from the workers, but then they took those dollars saved and they said to the employees, what other ideas do you have to make us more productive? And, another person came with the idea of, why don't we put, air conditioning in the plant? And what the management had seen is during the summers, it was hot, wasn't good ventilation, productivity went down. They took this idea, productivity went up. So I would say to the cynics in the audience is, one, if you're working with a company, first go in and ask them how much turnover costs. See if they could actually give you a figure, even if it's wildly off. Talk about what would happen if you could reduce that by 10%. Think about the dollars that are there. What we saw with these companies is that, again, when they had 80, 90% turnover in certain roles, when we talk about call centers, dropping that by 20%, we saw by one, reimagining benefits. We talked about, using training. We call it in the chapter, developing a deep talent bench, showing people that there's actually a career path. These things had tangible impact on the financial line.